Imagine an ER waiting room with your favorite blanket and pillow, your cat's Pixel and Widget, and your mom's chicken soup. At Dignity Health, we know the only thing worse than being in pain is being stuck in an ER waiting room. So we offer In Quicker. You get an estimated ER arrival time online so you can start your wait at home. It's just another way of putting leading-edge medicine within easy reach. Learn more at strosehospitals.org/ER. Dignity Health, including St. Rose Dominicans, Rose de Lima, San Martin, and Siena campuses in Henderson and Las Vegas. Hello, human kindness.
Nevadans are battle-born, but lately we've been tested like never before. So when COVID came to Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto went to work. She got loans for small businesses that saved 500,000 Nevada jobs and worked with President Biden to provide stimulus checks and tax cuts. Senator Cortez Masto got new funding to keep Nevada's first responders on the job, too. Call Senator Cortez Masto at 202-224-3542 and tell her to keep delivering relief for Nevada. Paid for by Majority Forward.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the program. This morning, we're going to dive right back into the Leon Black situation, and we're going to talk about a developing situation at the Museum of Modern Art in regards to Leon Black's position within their organization. There is a showdown coming, according to a new article from the Daily Beast and Kate Bricklet. So we're going to dive into this article, and we're going to see what Kate and the Daily Beast has to say about Leon Black and the Museum of Modern Art. Headline: MoMA braces for a showdown over Epstein pal Leon Black. This article was authored by Kate Bricklet and Lachlan Cartwright. So, we know that this was a train coming down the tracks at MoMA. We know that they were going to have to answer for Leon Black's affiliation with them in regards to his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And up until recently, they've been able to really avoid any, let's say, serious backlash. But now, especially in light of the fact that Leon Black is stepping down early from Apollo Global, there is a significant amount of pressure being put on MoMA now to make the same decision and get rid of Leon Black. But as we've discussed previously, Leon Black is a huge donor to the museum, and let's be real, they don't want to lose access to his art. That's really what it comes down to. I know that's pathetic and disturbing for, those of us who are, normal human beings, but for them, remember, the means always justifies the ends. Pressure is building on private equity billionaire Leon Black to resign as chairman of the Museum of Modern Art ahead of a crucial board meeting next week as his ties to deceased sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein continue to haunt him. Yeah, the pressure really is on. And it's not only internal pressure, obviously. There's a lot of external pressure being used right now to try and make it so that Leon Black does, in fact, vacate this seat. I don't understand how he or anyone else could think it's a good idea for him to remain in this position. There is just too much nuclear fallout clinging to him, especially when you look at everything in context. This guy gave a majority of the money to Epstein after Epstein's initial arrest, folks. What have I said from the beginning? If you were hanging out with Epstein before he got arrested, at the very least you have a defense that you can attempt to make, right? Oh, I didn't know. He wasn't even arrested yet. What are you talking about? Now, we might not buy that BS, but at least you can make that attempt. After his arrest, there's really no situation where you can say, oh, yeah, well, I didn't know what Jeffrey Epstein was. Yes, you did. He was arrested. He went to prison. He served time for what he did, and you still chose to hang out with him. You still chose to do business with him. So I don't know how any of these people, frankly, who are hanging out with Epstein after the arrest think that is going to work. Fevered discussion about Black's possible departure from MoMA comes a day after Black quit Apollo Global Management, the $455 billion firm he co-founded in 1990. An internal review revealed Black paid the sex offender more than $150 million from 2012 to 2017, 3 times higher than what was initially reported. The report found no evidence that Black knew of or participated in Epstein's sexual abuse of girls and young women. Now, I've never made that leap. I know some people might, but not here on this podcast. The financial ties that bind Epstein and Leon Black are enough, all right? The business ties between them, the fact that, as the article just stated here, 3 times the amount of money that was initially stated was really sent to Epstein. That's what needs to be investigated with these people. Why was this money being sent to an offshore? Why was this money being sent to Epstein in the first place? Oh, it's fine and well that Leon Black comes out and says, oh, it was for advice, but we're just supposed to take you at your word? Why should we believe you when you've already started this whole thing off by lying about the amount of money in the first place? And if your own paid-for internal investigation uncovered that, can you imagine what a real independent investigation would uncover? But that same review found that Black and Epstein were unusually close, bound by a series of personal and professional connections stretching back decades. Black loaned Epstein $30 million in early 2017, only $10 million of which was paid back. So, let me get this straight. You make a loan of $30 million to somebody, right? And they only give you $10 million back of that loan. You don't freak out. You don't press the issue. You don't. So, from where I'm sitting, I doubt it was a loan. What was that money really for? Black once flew on Epstein's private plane, the so-called Lolita Express, and visited Epstein's ranch in Stanley, New Mexico, and his private Caribbean island, where Epstein survivors were trafficked and abused. So it should come as no shock that Leon Black was hanging out at Zorro Ranch. And again, we need to know more about what occurred at Zorro Ranch. Full stop. No BSing around. No hiding the truth. We need a full accounting of what occurred in Zorro Ranch, at Zorro Ranch, and the surrounding properties. The local authorities are not interested. If they were, they'd have their own investigation going right now. They don't need the feds to draw a warrant and kick in that door. All they need is probable cause. But then again, when you're in Bill Richardson's New Mexico, well, the game certainly is tilted. He also spent time with Epstein in Florida and in France, and they socialized in New York, often over breakfast. Black funded Epstein's favorite researchers at MIT and Harvard, and gave $10 million to Epstein's secret charity. Secret charity. Again, why do you need a secret charity? And furthermore, why is Leon Black, one of the most powerful men on Wall Street, giving money to a secret charity in the first place? You would think that a guy like Leon Black would just call up his accountant and be like, hey, look, I'm going to need you to wire $10 million over to so-and-so for this charity. Why all the secretiveness? Why all of the operating in darkness? Why using all of these offshore companies? What's the deal? Black confided in Epstein on personal matters, and Black introduced Epstein to his family, the report found. So right away, that automatically should give anyone pause who thinks that there was no relationship here. You don't introduce people to your family if you're not close friends, or at the very least friends, right? You don't just bring acquaintances around your family or your children or anything like that. Not these people anyway. It's a very small circle. So please, for Black to act like him and Epstein weren't close, or it wasn't a real friendship or something, it's just ludicrous. Black stated that he was repulsed by the details of Epstein's crimes that were published in late 2018. By then, those crimes were well and widely known, Epstein's pyramid abuse scheme had been the stuff of headlines since 2010. The legal battles between Epstein's associates, his survivors, and Epstein himself had dragged on in public view for years. And again, I've been saying this for a long time. How could any of these people act like they don't know? You know, these are people that are watching the news on a daily basis, right? They're watching the stock report. They're watching, they're trying to get an edge any way that they possibly can. So for Leon Black to act like he had no idea about Jeffrey Epstein or what people were talking about or what was alleged to have taken place, he really must believe that people are stupid, honestly. Black denies any involvement in Epstein's trafficking ring. In October, he told shareholders on an earnings call that palling around with Epstein after his 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor in Florida was a terrible mistake. Oh yeah, terrible mistake is an understatement, okay? Absolutely pathetic that you would be giving this dude this kind of credibility and helping refurbish his image by hanging out with him. And that's what you were doing, Leon Black. That's exactly what you were doing. Let me be clear, Black said. What is he, Barack Obama all of a sudden? There has never been an allegation by anyone that I engaged in any wrongdoing, because I did not. And any suggestion of blackmail or any other connection to Epstein's reprehensible conduct is categorically untrue. Okay, so what's the hundreds of millions of dollars for, Mr. Black? Now, I know there's a lot of people that want to make a lot of big leaps here, and, one way or the other, but for me, I'm asking the question, what was the money for? And I don't want to hear about, it was for advice, okay? There's no advice on this planet worth $158 million, folks. Black previously announced he was stepping down as CEO of Apollo and said he'd hand the reins to co-founder Mark Rowan on or before July 31st. But on Monday, Apollo said the 69-year-old Wall Street mogul and art collector quit earlier than scheduled and had also relinquished his role as chairman. So we covered that yesterday. The Leon Black situation, him stepping down. We knew the writing was on the wall, but I certainly didn't expect him to step down before July like he said he was going to. That came as a surprise, no doubt about it. In a statement, Black said he planned to spend more time with his family and focus on his health and other passions like art. And time is precious, Black said. My wife, Deborah, lost a close family member to the pandemic and faces considerable health challenges. I intend to address my own health issues and take some personal time to pursue my many interests away from Apollo, including the arts, culture, medical research, and philanthropy. Oh, it must be nice, huh? I'm going to take a step away amidst all of this chaos and all of this fallout from my relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm just going to focus on my art. As if anybody in the art community is not going to look at you sideways now. Now Black may lose one of his high-profile positions in the art world. The MoMA chairmanship he's held since 2018. That year, Black donated $40 million to the museum and had 2 floors of its film center named after him and his wife. You see, money talks, folks. If this was just a regular cat, a regular dude, then he would have been jettisoned from history at MoMA. They would have expunged his name from everything. But considering the fact that this dude is a walking cash cow, considering the fact that they all have their hands in this dude's pocket, well, he's given different treatment, right? Oh, well, we'll have to look at it. We'll take a look at his behavior. Whereas we're in a situation now in the world where people get fired over tweets. Never mind palling around with Jeffrey effing Epstein. A rep for Black declined to comment. MoMA did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Still, the museum looks likely to address Black's future on the board in its next meeting scheduled for March 30th. Pretty interested to see how that goes, honestly. I mean, the rubber's going to meet the road, right? It really comes down to the basic question of, does MoMA care or don't they? None of MoMA's nearly 80 officers and trustees would speak about Black on the record, though several said they supported him and viewed his relationship to Epstein strictly as business. Of course they do. Fellow travelers and all, right? Again, folks, remember, In this world where Epstein was accepted and where Epstein was elevated to such a high level, the only crime is to be broke. Black was among a litany of high-powered people to associate with Epstein. One member told the Daily Beast, "It's obvious to me people used Epstein, not the least of which, as ways to meet other people. And people did do business with him, ergo Leon. Of course they did." Well, you don't think Leon Black ever introduced anyone to Jeffrey Epstein and those people got into business with Epstein, Black's friends and whatnot? Of course they did. Now, will any of that ever be unearthed? Who knows? Who knows? But logic says that they're sitting around, they're this friendly, and if Epstein's this great money guy, you really don't think Leon Black is going to direct anyone else towards him? Another trustee, however, told the Daily Beast they were troubled by Black's decades-long friendship and ties with a sexual predator. "There's people who feel strongly, but there has not been a forum for people to express their thoughts yet," the person said, referring to the museum's decision to twice postpone its board meeting since February. What? Why are you postponing it? I get it. They'll say it's COVID. I understand. I know. The COVID is making you postpone your board meeting. In reality, they're still trying to figure out what's going on with Leon Black. That's my guess anyway. And now with this March 30th board meeting coming up, they're going to have to make a decision one way or the other. Asked if they were bothered by the chairman's association with Epstein, the trustee added, "Of course it disturbs me. I have a conscience and I have children." Yeah, look, it should disturb anybody, honestly. Children or not, it's just, I don't even understand how anyone could look at this and be like, "Oh yeah, that's just typical business. No big deal. No deeper look is warranted here." Last week, the New York Post revealed a number of MoMA trustees had contacted Black about resigning once his term ends on July 1st. The report indicated the billionaire could rescind the museum's access to his vast art holdings, including Edvard Munch's The Scream, should he leave the board altogether. Remember, if MoMA kicks out Black, they lose a chance at his personal art collection, one source told the Post. I mean, is his art collection really that awesome? I'm sure it's great and all, but there's no other pieces of art that could be gathered from elsewhere or from other collectors and put in those spots? The Black's collection, said to be valued at $1 billion, also includes Head of a Young Apostle, a chalk drawing by Raphael purchased for $48 million, the $106 million Picasso sculpture Bust of a Woman, and the $27 million Konstantin Brancusi sculpture Bird in Space, which is on display at MoMA. Pocket change, folks, imagine. We're talking, let's see, 48 million, 106 million, 27 million. Cool, 170 plus. No big deal, pocket change. Calls for Black's ouster have included a petition signed by a phalanx of prominent artists, including Nan Goldin and Xavier Simmons, who demanded MoMA boot Black over his links to Epstein. "We as artists and art workers support the removal of Leon Black from the board of MoMA for reasons that have already been stated by many others. However, this should be considered the bare minimum," the group said in a statement. And I think that's pretty powerful, right? I think it's time for the people that work inside of these organizations to stand up and start doing a little bit of house cleaning. And as an artist and somebody who's represented by the MoMA and somebody who might have their art there, why would you want to be associated with anything like this? I know I wouldn't be. I know if my art was in this place, I'd be demanding this guy step down as well. Or at the very least, he could clean this all up. Go speak to the FBI under oath. Go speak with the FBI under oath. One of the signatories, Guerrilla Girls, the anonymous feminist art collective, said it terminated its book contract with Faden Press in 2019 because it's owned by Black. They said MoMA should axe not only Black, but fellow trustee Glenn Dubin, a billionaire whose family has long-standing ties to Epstein, and whom Virginia Roberts, a survivor of Epstein's sex ring, accused of abuse. For sure, Glenn Dubin hasn't been talked about much lately, but don't worry. We'll be getting back to Glenn Dubin. But he's another one. of these people that breathe this so-called rarefied air, who has avoided any sort of real scrutiny over this. Now, don't get me wrong, there's been some articles posted, and he's had to take a step back from his business as well. But according to what Virginia has to say, and to some other reports, especially concerning that 15-year-old Swedish girl in his kitchen, I would say that a more expansive investigation is called for. Robert says Epstein and his alleged accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, kept her as a sex slave and sent her to powerful men including Britain's Prince Andrew, Glenn Dubin, and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. All three of the men have denied Robert's accusations. Oh, they certainly have, but pretty generic denials. We haven't really seen anything to back up what these guys are saying, especially in Prince Andrew's case. Seems like every time he opens his mouth or one of his representatives open their mouth, the hole gets bigger for him. We were outraged by Black's silence about his relationship to a known pedophile, Guerrilla Girls said in a prior statement. So we put up a message outside MoMA demanding the museum kick Black off its board, along with Epstein pal Glenn Dubin, and tell the world why. It was the least MoMA could do for victims of sexual assault everywhere. I don't disagree, right? I do not disagree. All of these people are of ill repute, and none of these people should be representing a museum like this that should be an inclusive place where people feel comfortable going to check out art. It shouldn't be a place where people feel bad about themselves if they go in there because, this place is tainted by Leon Black or Glenn Dubin. Just remove those idiots. I'm sure there's other rich people that are probably still criminals, but maybe not pedophiles at least, that you can get to fill that gap, no? The art group said, how could Black, a shrewd businessman and guy around town, not have known his money subsidized Epstein's elaborate lifestyle, enabling Epstein to continue abusing and trafficking underage girls right up to his suspicious death in 2019? Was Black complicit in Epstein's crimes? Yo, the Guerrilla Girls are unchained with this, right? Good for them. Good for them. Standing up to these people and asking the hard questions. You know, the questions that the legacy media should be asking. But they don't. They don't have the stomach for it, right? They'd prefer to have their political battles, their little tribalism, playing an all or nothing stakes game of Lord of the Flies. Why does MoMA tolerate people like Black and Dubin on its board, Guerrilla Girls added? If we're stuck with a system where our tax-exempt educational institutions have to depend on money from the super rich, they should at least choose donors who make the world a better, not a worse place. I mean, is that really too much to ask? Is that too much to ask to vet your donors and to make sure they're not pedophiles and human traffickers? I guess that's too much to ask. Black has been under fire in the press for his ties to Epstein since July 2019, when Manhattan federal prosecutors charged the 66-year-old financier, pedophile, with exploiting girls as young as 14 from 2002 to 2005. And the media firestorm didn't fade after Epstein killed himself in jail 1 month later, allegedly. Their relationship is also being investigated by at least one government official. Denise M. George, the Attorney General for the U.S. Virgin Islands, who subpoenaed Black as part of her civil racketeering lawsuit against Epstein's estate and companies. And I'm really interested to see where all of that goes, if it goes anywhere. Now, remember, I am of the opinion that all of these enablers are going to find a way to walk on this. None of these people are going to end up feeling the bite of the law. And it's sad because these people have very deep, at the very least, financial ties to Epstein, and they enriched themselves off of his ill-gotten gains. So they should all be part of a conspiracy case. They should all be part of a huge, gigantic RICO case. But time is ticking, folks. What's the federal government doing? Where's the RICO case? Where's the RICO charges? George has also subpoenaed Dubin for all communications relating to Epstein and Dubin's 3 children, along with records relating to a Swedish girl who traveled with Epstein. That's the little 15-year-old girl we always talk about. And nobody, I shouldn't say nobody because I can't speak for anybody else, but me and myself, I have a lot of questions about this girl, her identity, and whatever happened to her. That story was gut-wrenching. Crying in the kitchen about the island, being trapped on that island, and them taking her passport, and just a whole disturbing chapter of this story. Shortly after Epstein's New York indictment, Black sent an email to Apollo employees addressing concerns about his relationship with the money manager. I was completely unaware of, and am deeply troubled by, the conduct that is now the subject of the federal criminal charges brought against him, Black wrote. Oh, now you have a problem with it. Now you're disgusted. Give me a break, okay? Leon Black. You knew what Jeffrey Epstein was. You knew what sort of monster he was. And you thought that you folks would never have to answer for it because Jeffrey was never going to get caught again. That's what you all thought. At the same time, reports surfaced that Black had donated $10 million to the financier pedophile's secret foundation, Gratitude America Ltd., in 2015 using a shell company called BV70 LLC. Oh, the shell companies. Oh, the offshore money. Oh, the lifeblood of money laundering. And for all of you listening to the podcast, well, you already know how this works because we have laid out the groundwork. And this is the reason I have spent so much time on the financial aspect of this. All of these people are connected. And if this case was being prosecuted the way it should be by the federal government, then all of these people involved would be subpoenaed and would be subject to criminal liability via their involvement with a money laundering operation. Pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. Black felt comfortable making this donation because he understood that Epstein was a strong proponent of scientific innovation, Apollo's internal review said. Black also used BV70 to make $30.5 million in loans to Epstein, in connection with an art transaction involving the perverted hedge funder who repaid only $10 million despite Black's demands for repayment throughout 2018. So why does Epstein feel so emboldened to not pay these people back all the time? Wexner and Black, some of the most powerful people on the planet, folks. But yet, this college dropout, this moronic idiot Jeffrey Epstein wields this much power over them, huh? The question I ask you is, why? Their friendship dissolved, the report says, in October 2018 because of a long-running dispute over Epstein's fees. About a month later, Epstein became a household name after the Miami Herald published a 3-part expose into his Palm Beach trafficking ring and the lenient 2008 plea deal he negotiated with Miami federal prosecutors. All right, so speculation time on my part. So Leon Black broke up with Epstein, quote unquote, a month before all of this really broke for the second time. Now, we know that Black is super powerful. And we know that Black has a lot of friends in the legacy media. Did they leak this to him? Did they tell him that this what was coming down the pipe with Epstein to try and give him some time to distance himself? Now, again, this is speculation on my part. But it would make sense, right, that he had some inside information from the legacy media about this coming down the pipe. That way he could distance himself. Apollo's internal record said Black and Epstein met through an unnamed mutual friend in the mid-1990s and developed a personal relationship. An unknown friend, huh? Interesting. While Black and Epstein discussed estate planning, philanthropy, and related issues over the years, Black did not engage Epstein to provide him with any services until 2012, the report claims, as if that's any better. That's after his arrest, folks, all right? Keep that in mind. Everybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was, and then Black went out and recruited him. Gross. Initially, Black viewed Epstein as someone who was very intelligent and knowledgeable regarding issues relating to estate planning and taxation. Black also was impressed by Epstein's connections to many prominent figures in business, politics, and science. There's the rub. Black knew that Epstein had contacts, and the contacts equal power. What do I tell you all the time here on the podcast? Information is more important than money to these people. Epstein spoke knowledgeably about scientific innovation and technology. He introduced Black to well-regarded researchers at Harvard University and MIT, and encouraged Black to donate to charitable causes that supported scientific development. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he did. With Epstein bringing Black in to give the universities more money, that increases Epstein's worth to these universities and therefore makes his hooks go deeper into the back of their neck. That's how all of this works, folks. That's how this works. This is no different than a mafia scam or something that the cartel would be running. An MIT report said Epstein claimed to have set up anonymous donations for the school's media lab from Black and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. Another absolute scumbag, by the way, Bill Gates. Black has publicly acknowledged donating to charities affiliated with Epstein, but has not specifically addressed whether he donated to MIT or whether Epstein asked him to donate to MIT, the document concluded. Notably, we did not find any evidence that the money donated by Gates or Black actually was Epstein's money. That is, there is no evidence that Gates and Black acted to launder Epstein's money. The backlash over Epstein's donations to the MIT Media Lab caused director Joy Ito to resign in 2019. Au contraire, there is definitely evidence that this is laundered money in my opinion. And just because Deckert didn't find any evidence of that, it doesn't satiate my quest for answers. Sorry, I need a real independent investigation of this. For its part, Harvard noted that Epstein helped two professors obtain millions in donations from Black. Martin Nowak, who helmed the university program in evolutionary dynamics, and Harvard Medical School geneticist George Church. Jeffrey Epstein introduced Mr. Black to the research that was being undertaken by Professors Church and Nowak, a representative for Black told Harvard counsel for the university's own report. So, Epstein was acting as the middleman, right? He was facilitating all of these donations from all of these bigwigs to Harvard. And what were these people getting in return? What was Leon Black getting in return for these donations? What was Glenn Dubin getting? Or Les Wexner? These are the questions that need to be answered. Mr. Black met with Professors Nowak and Church to discuss their research in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and, in the case of Professor Church, also at Mr. Black's New York office. The gifts made in support of Professor Church and Professor Nowak's research were made by Mr. Black. None of the funds were provided by Mr. Epstein, and no attempt was made to conceal the source of these gifts. I mean, come on. These guys were making these donations for Jeffrey Epstein is what it looks like. And they were just doing it in their names so that there would be no blowback on Jeffrey Epstein or the university. So they were acting as middlemen. Imagine being this billionaire and being manipulated by Jeffrey Epstein to act as a middleman. The Apollo report further illustrated the social and financial ties that bound Epstein and Black. In 1997, Black named Epstein a director of his family foundation, whose only other officers were himself and spouse Deborah. Convenient. Only 3 people involved. All of the dark, dirty secrets between husband, wife, and Epstein. And there's nobody else in the know. Pretty easy to move around in the shadows that way, huh? While Black claims Epstein left the position in mid-2007, when the FBI was investigating him in Palm Beach for abusing minors, the foundation's tax forms continue to list Epstein through 2012. So I'm going to go with the 2012 number, okay? That's what the tax forms say, and I thought that's what we're all interested in, the taxes. So, all right, 2012 is the number that I'm going to go with. and Black continued to socialize with Epstein and pay him for estate and tax planning, among other services, even after his 2008 conviction in Florida. That's a stand-up guy, that Leon Black, huh? Let me pay this sex offender some more money after his arrest and bring him into my confidence. And you know what? I'm going to bring him over to meet my family. Following Epstein's prison sentence, Black believed that Epstein had served his time and that it would not be inappropriate to maintain a personal and professional relationship with Epstein. Oh, well, look, if the guy was in jail for a money laundering or basic thievery or a Ponzi scheme or something, all right, I get it. He's a scumbag, but we're still friends. But for this, what he was accused of, what he went to prison for, and you're still going to be friends with him? I mean, what the hell is wrong with you? At the time, Black thought Epstein's crimes were limited to a single instance of soliciting a 17-year-old prostitute that Black believed Epstein had mistakenly understood was older. The report also says Black believes in rehabilitation and giving people second chances. Well, that's all fine and well, and if that's the case, I challenge Leon Black to put those billions to work for real justice reform and real reform within the prison system. According to the report, Black viewed Epstein as a friend worthy of his trust. The billionaire regularly visited Epstein in New York, including at events and other prominent guests, and confided in Epstein on personal matters. Certainly doesn't sound like somebody who just knew somebody, huh? I don't have any acquaintances that I call up and talk to about personal matters, okay? And people that I do business with, unless they're close friends, I don't call them up and complain about my problems either. Black and his wife visited Epstein at his residence in France, Florida, the Caribbean, and New Mexico, but never spent the night, the report claims. Okay, wait a minute. So what did they do in New Mexico then? So they flew down to New Mexico, went to the ranch, and then drove from Stanley to Santa Fe to the Motel 6? I'm not buying any of that. At Epstein's request, Black and his wife provided transportation from Santa Fe to California on Black's plane to two or more of Epstein's adult guests in Santa Fe. A footnote in the report states, oh boy. It is getting real in Santa Fe. What the hell is happening down there? The story in Santa Fe is still yet to be told, folks. And I am so interested in what really went on down there. There is so much more to be uncovered at that ranch and within the surrounding vicinity. Black viewed Epstein as a confirmed bachelor with eclectic tastes, who often employed attractive women, the review says. However, Black did not believe that any of the women in Epstein's employ were underage. Black has no recollection of ever seeing Epstein with an underage woman at any time. Yeah, plausible deniability. How are you supposed to know? Again, what are all these guys think that they're ID specialists? They can check IDs and know if it's real or if it's fake, or they could just look at a girl and know if she's overage? I mean, come on. Nobody knows. They don't know if they're overage or not. The internal report says that for years, Epstein managed Black's art collection and counseled him on forming a new art partnership and obtaining a potential advisory opinion from the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance regarding a contemplated transaction involving Black's art. Oh yeah, because, just what these idiots need. More tax breaks, more loopholes, more ways not to pay up. Meanwhile, April 15th is approaching very quickly, folks. You better have your shit in order. Epstein was also fairly involved in assisting Black in connection with the sale of certain pieces of artwork and advised him on the contested ownership of a Picasso sculpture. I mean, is it not clear, folks, how deep these ties are? Is it not clear that Black and Epstein went much further than just a business relationship? In 2015, Black purchased a bust of a woman from the artist's daughter, Maya Winmare Picasso, for $106 million. The Qatari royal family and their agents, however, challenged the transaction. They said they'd already reached a deal with the Picassos to buy the sculpture for about $42 million 2 years before. Both sides reached a settlement in 2016, with Black the winner of the peace. Now think about that for a minute. That's how powerful Leon Black and Epstein were. They went up against the Qatari royal family, who has more money than the Lord himself, and they came out victorious. Around the same time, Black and Epstein's relationship started to unravel. Epstein began demanding tens of millions in fees for supposedly coming up with a tax planning transaction that saved Black $600 million. And this is what always happens with these people, right? The greed gets the best of them. There's never enough. They're so gluttonous that there is never enough for them. He emailed Black throughout 2016 and 2017 to pressure him to pay more for the expertise. Epstein also would invoke his friendship with Black in those emails, the Apollo report says, including by referencing personal matters that Black had shared with Epstein in confidence, although there is no evidence that those matters had any relationship to any of Epstein's criminal activity or to any of Black's payments to Epstein. Well, those emails should be given to the FBI. The FBI should demand those emails, in fact. Subpoena them, and let's get them introduced to evidence. Black, per the report, was shocked when Epstein's sex crimes made news in late 2018. Oh yeah, and I was shocked when I woke up this morning, turned on the shower, got in, and the water was wet. Some witnesses noted specifically that they did not believe Black would have allowed Epstein to be introduced to Black's wife and children if Black had any suspicion that Epstein had done anything inappropriate or illegal with girls or young women, the review says. Yeah, I disagree. What we have found throughout this story is all of these people bring their kids up and their wife up as an excuse or as a shield. And it's disgusting every single time. Why should Black be any different? But at least one guest who attended a swanky pool party at Black's Hamptons property in 2015 was surprised to see Epstein among the swimsuit-clad revelers. Leon had a personal relationship with Jeffrey, and I found it odd, one witness told the Post. Why was what Jeffrey did not that bad? Well, all I could say about that is the only crime that you can commit when you're in that circle with these so-called elite is the crime of being broke. Human trafficking, sex offenses, those are all forgivable offenses. You know, though, the one thing that they cannot forgive is people being poor. That's the one unbreakable, that's the one unmovable mountain to these people. So it shouldn't come as a shock that they welcome Jeffrey Epstein with open arms. It shouldn't come as a shock that Jeffrey Epstein and Leon Black were so close. And now, as all of this starts to unfold and the curtain is pulled back, how many other people are going to be exposed for their relationships with Epstein? I hope a lot, because every single one of these people that works in finance and all of these people who were involved with these transactions, and they really, really helped Jeffrey Epstein abuse these girls. Not physically, right? They weren't in the room according to what we know so far, but their money enabled all of this to occur. And for that transgression, they need to answer. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. Alright folks, I'll be back later on tonight if there's some new news. If not, it'll be a flashback episode, and we'll be back tomorrow morning for a fresh start. Alright everybody, have a great Wednesday night.
Imagine an ER waiting room with your favorite blanket and pillow, your cat's Pixel and Widget, and your mom's chicken soup. At Dignity Health, we know the only thing worse than being in pain is being stuck in an ER waiting room. So we offer In Quicker. You get an estimated ER arrival time online so you can start your wait at home. It's just another way of putting leading-edge medicine within easy reach. Learn more at strosehospitals.org/ER. Dignity Health, including St. Rose Dominicans, Rose de Lima, San Martin, and Siena campuses in Henderson and Las Vegas. Hello, human kindness.
Discovery Plus has what you're hungry for, with new original series and a supersized collection of favorites. It's the largest collection of food shows anywhere, all for only $4.99. Discovery Plus, the streaming home of food, plus so much more. Start your free trial